Trump's executive order on quote unquote patriotic education, they want to have leverage over these universities to control the type of education that, the students who, Harvard and Yale and all these institutions are very powerful. Those are the people who end up in power.
That's right.
They want to use this cudgel in order to enforce compliance across, this is sort of the tip of the spear. And then it's the same thing with the war on CRT and DEI, and I have my own issues with those ideologies, et cetera. But there's a concerted effort to teach a
Let me just tell you, okay, that Krystal Ball is a gem. I don't know this girl. I would actually love to meet her. And I do not say stuff like this. By the way, this is Brian Berletic. He's going to be going live in an hour. I don't know if you guys watch the new Atlas. It's a really good channel to watch because they actually break down what's going on with as far as like wars and stuff like that. Okay, coming back to it. By the way, please don't forget the like and subscribe button. How about I give myself some, okay. I don't say this often about people. I don't. I would like to meet Krystal Ball and have a discussion with her. I would. If she said no, I wouldn't like take it to heart. Like, oh my gosh, why should you want to meet? No. But I find that when she talks, it's just so refreshing because I'm like, oh my God, there are people paying attention. Like, I know we have people who are on the left who are paying attention, but she explains things in a way where I'm just like, man, thank God for her on the show, Breaking Points. But I can't wait to see how this debate goes with Saagar because, again, I don't understand Saagar. I don't know, ever since he got that makeover, I guess he doesn't know how to act because I don't see what he's going to say that goes against anything that she's starting to say here. But I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Sanitized version of history, and this is part of the cudgel that is being used to effectuate that broader outcome because they do see these universities as an alternative power center. And so, this is something in a sort of ideological architecture that has been supported both by liberals like Joe Biden and most of the elected Democratic political leaders and much of the media, New York Times, et cetera. And so it's the easiest way for them to really push that project. But I don't think that it stands alone. It's part of a broader project.
Yeah, it definitely is. I guess so. The difference then between you and me is, I have no problem withholding funding from Harvard or from any of these other people for propping up DEI or teaching for critical race theory because that concerns our country. I do have a big problem with weaponizing.
But the idea of intellectual freedom is like,
listen, they have 50 billion.
You can disagree with DEI, but like if you want to teach.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome to. You have a $50 billion endowment that you can draw down every day. Me as the American taxpayer and others, we can vote to withhold our funding from said institutions, no? And I think that's a pretty fair rebuttal.
I think there's...
Yeah.
That's actually fair in that the universities, Harvard and certainly Yale and these other Ivy League institutions, they have the endowments where we talked about with Columbia.
Yeah.
Like they don't actually need the $400 million. No. They could fill in that gap. It wouldn't be a problem. These endowments have become so massive and they're like a business in and of themselves, but many universities do not fall into that category, right? And they're actually the ones that are most vulnerable, which is why it's so disheartening to see the Harvards and the Columbias and the Ivy League institutions, which are in a position to actually stand up for intellectual freedom, and their own integrity, and completely capitulating in the face of this assault.
I don't know. See, the thing is public education by default, if it's going to be funded by the public, then of course we get a say. The idea you should have intellectual freedom at a, quote, public university is preposterous.
What?
Because public education is for the purpose of, quote, educating the public based on the taxpayer, right?
Right.
So we should just
don't we want a public that's educated, about the scourge of racism, slavery, and Jim Crow?
Educated to what end? The purpose of public education is to benefit the American taxpayer by having people who are skilled,
who are educated,
intellectually curious, or whatever, and to become a better citizen. Yeah. But there's also an economic benefit to this. So
you don't think that public universities there should be like intellectual freedom at public universities.
Okay, I mean, if
but
the
Harvard
state,
is also not a public university.
But under that argument, yeah, I agree with you, and that's what I'm trying.
So the thing is that Saagar doesn't really believe in the freedom that he talks about. Now, let me be very clear. I don't think, because the problem is, right, that a lot of these schools claim to be teaching Black history, and they've taken like African kings, and some of them they'll say like, well, this one was queer, and it's like, whoa, like how do you even know that? Like, why? Where is that coming from? And you know, a lot of times this stuff is very subjective, and so I have a problem with that. However, again, I understand what she means, intellectual freedom. Unfortunately, now, because what I see what's going on with these universities in Israel, because, like, let's keep it real. The debate is not about DEI. They are coming after these universities and telling them that now they cannot even teach about Palestine and what's going on in Palestine. They can't teach about it because it is a threat to somebody's existence, so-called. And definitions that they took, and really, to be honest, the money thing, which is so weird, because then I would ask MAGA, like, I'm confused. I thought Trump got rid of the Department of Education, but he's controlling how the schools can teach Middle Eastern studies. And now Middle Eastern studies, I mean, because this is a genre, it's not that it's going to go away. It's going to be taught differently. It's just a bunch of lies on top of lies. And again, let's keep it real, that these attacks, when this attack on the university started, I remember this clearly. This was Bill Ackman, who was like, I will pull all my money out of these schools. One person, okay? And they got with it. And then with the Republican president who came in, they were able to get the government to fully back it up, okay? And that's what we're seeing here. It wasn't because that these schools were teaching whiteness is bad and things like that. That's not why. That's not where this crusade came from. And if anybody thinks that that's what it is, then you just weren't paying attention, or you're in La La Land. And a lot of MAGA is in La La Land now. Also, but Saagar is like, no, just teach them this thing, that's it. Okay, this is not a caste system, this is not India. Sorry, I'm just going to come out and say it, okay? I think that there should be real history taught. And unfortunately, there's not real history taught. But I kind of just also have a bias to him. I do. Because he wants to be cool. And I don't like when people just want to be cool, because then they miss the forest for the trees. If that makes sense. All right.
Trying to say, though, is at a state level, like if the state of Massachusetts, if they had a literal white power curriculum, do you think that would be acceptable? I would say absolutely not. The state of Massachusetts, at the University of Massachusetts, if those taxpayers voted to say that that's not in line with what we want to teach our schools, be my guest. It's your university. You guys are the ones who fund it.
And so you think that teaching about, the scourge of slavery and, let's say, our, genocide against Native Americans is equivalent to a white power seminar?
Well, I think that if you're going to teach it in such a way, like the 1619 Project did, which was also funded and then used at some of these elite universities to say America is irrevocably racist, then what are we all doing here?
So I've already explained that part. I just want to see something. Sorry, guys. It has been a long time. I just want to see if they get to the crooks, because, again, to act like this has only to do with Jim Crow and all of that, it doesn't do you any favors, because I guess they don't get into it. And it's not that she wouldn't, but the thing is that she made a comment. Let me just see. Oh God, he's still talking. Let's see. All right.
The truth. It's all namby-pamby nice to say, oh, intellectual curiosity, etc. The problem that we have today is that way too many people go to college to pursue degrees which are not economically viable and which saddle them up with a lot of debt. The solution to that is not to offer, quote, free college so that everybody can go get little box checks. It's to make sure that people pursue higher educational, vocational training, or wherever, or perhaps a four-year college degree for the purpose of being able to pursue the American dream, which you individually get to define for yourself. So that's my my last thing is just like this idea that you're going to be conformist because you go to college. I went to a college with a bunch of woke people. In fact, being around them made me a lot more intellectually curious about what I wasn't learning in school, and you could pursue it for yourself. But that's an inversion of this idea that everything you're ever going to learn about the world is going to be at a 4-year college degree. No, we're supposed to lay a foundation.
Nobody said that. By the way, so you went to all the college with all the woke stuff, and you didn't come out that way, right? I didn't go to these colleges with all the theory and stuff. I went to a college that was focused on, and I do have a degree. It was focused on a life practice, a skill. You know, me saying I have a degree too, by the way, doesn't mean that like, oh, and I have a degree. It's just I'm making the point because we're talking about college. My college was not about like, you know, a theory. It was like, you know, like the blood pressure is 70/30. Broad, what are you going to do?
You can get a job, which is going to benefit yourself and ultimately benefit the entire country.
I think that treating human beings and their education as solely being about becoming effective cogs in the American capitalist machine, yeah, I disagree with that end goal of that being the only goal of our education, and especially our university system.
Yeah, but I'm saying even in a communist system, why did they send people to public university? It wasn't, again, to be sitting around and reading and debating Marxist Leninism. I just think that this is so funny. It was to send them to a factory.
I think this is so funny to come from you because you're so intellectually curious.
Absolutely.
And you're so well read. And not everything that you consume is about like, how can I generate more profit? How can I like make more money?
I do it for my own edification.
You value, and it has made you part of who you are, that you have that intellectual curiosity and that you have that intellectual development. And I'm not saying that all of that comes within a like traditional school system. Of course it doesn't. But I think an important part, especially for young adults within that system, when you have a fantastic professor who opens your eyes up to something, who helps you to understand something you didn't understand before, to help you explore the world, to help you learn about history and see the lessons.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. She's going on a great monologue there, but I did have to stop it. And I'll just say this. Saagar is going through that. He's probably shocking her because MAGA has been shocking people. Suddenly war is based now. Just like, you know what I mean? We just, and I know I'm not digressing that far. We just dropped, you know, B-250. We just dropped jets, in bomber jets in Diego Garcia, near Iran. Like, we're setting up the stage for a war. While everybody's talking about everything else, we're setting up the stage for a war. And MAGA's answer to these kind of things is like, well, you know, peace through strength. It's like, golly. Discernment is out the window because Trump is doing it. As if there's not a cabinet or a Pentagon. You know what I mean? Like, as if we just forgot that Trump got elected, so the deep state is gone. And that's the problem with people like Saagar. I mean, he was on it with the Elon thing, but for the most part, that's the problem with him. This is why she can't understand who she's talking to. They're still euphoric. And they don't see what's happening around them, that their infrastructure that they claim to love is being torn down. And you could say it's Trump, you could say it's the people around, I don't care what it is, it's being torn down. But they're rooting, they're saying rah rah, everything is great. It is actually kind of scary to watch because it's like, bro, man, y'all clapping to the grave. Also, last point, the thing about the colleges, too, is that the kids come out and people who come out of these colleges go work for think tanks, and the think tanks who write the laws and give them to the congressman who, you know what I mean, says this is the bill that I just wrote, but really it's the person who's at the think tank writing it. So if you get a bunch of people coming out of college at the think tank and they think that, you know, saying that Palestinians shouldn't be killed is like a threat to somebody's existence, what kind of laws are we going to get? You know, what kind of thing? It's like they want to turn everybody into this robotic machine. I'm all for patriotism, but what's going on in these universities? This is not patriotism.